I didn't cry at the funeral. That's the part people always remember when someone breaks. Sobbing at the casket, collapsing at the graveside. But I just stood there, stiff in a borrowed suit, hands and fists inside my coat pockets. The ground was wet. The sky was gray. Everything felt wrong, but not in the way you'd expect when someone you love dies. It felt incomplete. Claire had died 2 days earlier. Sudden aneurysm. She collapsed in the kitchen while making tea. No warning, no goodbye. One moment we were arguing about what show to binge next, and the next I was holding her hand while paramedics called her name like they could shout her back to life. It didn't work. They let me see her at the hospital just for a minute. Her skin was still warm. Her eyes were open but far away. I remember brushing a strand of hair off her cheek and whispering, "You'll be okay." Like I could lie her back into the world. Now she was in a casket. Closed, of course. Her mother insisted. She wouldn't want people to remember her like that. I didn't argue. I wasn't arguing with anyone. I didn't want to speak at all. The burial was simple. A small plot in the older part of town, just a few rows from where her grandfather had been buried. The grass was yellowing. The earth was loose, too soft. When they lowered the casket, I heard the thunk of wood hitting the bottom. I still hear it sometimes. People came and went. Hugged me. Said the usual things. She was special. So full of life. She'll always be with you. But those words didn't land. They just floated past like birds too tired to fly. That night, I sat in bed for hours, not moving. Just staring at the wall. The lamp was on. My phone face down on the nightstand. It was too quiet and somehow not quiet enough. Every sound, the hum of the fridge, the tick of the hallway clock, grated on me. I finally fell asleep sometime after 3 a.m. And then the phone rang. I startled awake so hard I nearly fell out of bed. My hand fumbled for the screen. The ringtone sounded normal, default, electronic, emotionless. But when I saw the name, Claire, I froze. My finger hovered over the screen. My brain said, "This isn't real. Someone's playing a sick joke." But I tapped answer anyway. For a few seconds, nothing. Then breathing. Shaky. Uneven. Like someone with a chest cold, struggling to inhale. Then a soft, clicking noise. Like fingernails on plastic. "Hello?" I whispered. No reply. Just that awful, stuttering breath. It didn't sound distant. It sounded close, like whoever was on the other end was right there, curled around the receiver, just breathing. I whispered again, louder this time. "Who is this?" A soft exhale. Then the line cut. I sat there, heart racing, phone shaking in my hand. The call log was still open. Claire, 3:18 a.m. to 0:46. I checked her number. It was hers. I knew it by heart. I deleted it the day she died. I had to, but it was still burned into my brain. I even checked her contact photo. It was still there too somehow. A candid shot I took of her laughing with a coffee in hand. God, she looked so alive in that photo. So real. I couldn't sleep the rest of the night. At dawn, I drove to the cemetery. I stood by the fresh dirt, cold air biting my throat. I just stared at it. "You're gone," I whispered. "I saw them lower you." I was there. But the wind picked up and blew dust across the surface like a breath, soft, deliberate. I stayed until the sun came up fully, then drove home, too tired to think. The phone didn't ring again that day. But I never deleted the call log. And I didn't block the number. Because some part of me, a quiet, terrified part, believed that it was her. And I wasn't sure if I wanted it to stop. The second call came the next night. Same time. 3:18 a.m. I didn't answer it. I watched the screen light up from across the room, my heart pounding in my chest like something trying to escape. Same name. Same number. Same photo. It rang exactly 6 times, then went to voicemail. I sat still in the dark, barely breathing, like making a sound would somehow acknowledge it. By the time the voicemail alert pinged, I was already holding the phone. My thumb hovered over the play icon for what felt like minutes. Finally, I tapped it. Static. Soft at first. Then louder, almost rhythmic. Then, "I'm still here." Her voice. Not a recording. Not a memory. Claire's voice. It was faint. Distant. As if she was calling from beneath water, or behind a wall, or underground. The message ended there. 12 seconds. I played it 5 times. Every time, it was the same. The next day, I called her number. "This number is not in service." I called again. Same result. I checked the carrier. The number had been deactivated 2 days after the funeral. I had the disconnection email. I'd been the one to cancel it. I stared at my phone like it might melt in my hand. That night, I didn't go to sleep. I stayed up, lights on, pacing. The silence in the apartment wasn't comforting anymore. It was oppressive. I turned on the TV for noise, but muted the volume. The only sound I could stand to hear was my own breathing. And then the phone rang again. 3:18 a.m. Of course. I let it go to voicemail. Again. Then another ping. One new message. I played it. "Why did you leave me?" Her voice breaking. Not angry. Not vengeful. Worse, hurt. I felt something twist inside me. A cold knot tightening behind my ribs. I replayed it, this time on speaker, as if hearing it in the open would somehow make it less real. It didn't. I didn't delete the messages. Instead, I transferred them to my laptop, renamed the files, backed them up twice. Not because I wanted to keep them, but because I couldn't bear the thought of losing them. The fourth night, the call didn't come. But my landline rang. I hadn't used it in years. It wasn't even plugged into the wall. I stood in the hallway staring at it as the old phone rang again and again, shrill and echoing through the apartment like a scream caught in a loop. I picked it up with trembling fingers. I didn't say anything. At first, just breathing. Then 3 soft words. You never listened. Then silence. I dropped the phone. It hit the floor with a dull clack. The line stayed open, no dial tone, no click, just dead air. I unplugged the phone, pulled it out of the wall completely. But when I looked at the call history on my mobile that morning, it was there again. Claire, 3:18 a.m. to 0:39. I checked my voicemail, heart pounding. Nothing new. Just static. But when I listened closer, through the hiss, I swear I heard something hidden deep in the layers of white noise. It sounded like scraping. Like nails dragging slowly across the inside of a wooden box. The cemetery gates groaned as I pushed them open, the sound like a warning. I hadn't planned to come back so soon, not after the funeral, not after the way the earth had swallowed her casket with finality. But something had pulled me here, a whisper in my bones. Her grave sat at the edge of the old section beneath a gnarled oak that cast claw-like shadows. At first glance, nothing seemed amiss. Then I saw the footprints. They were fresh, the dirt still damp from last night's rain, pressed deep into the soil. Too small to be mine. Too deliberate. They circled the headstone, paused at the foot of the plot, then vanished toward the tree line. My throat tightened. No one else visited her. No one cared enough. I knelt, brushing my fingers over the disturbed earth. The flowers I'd left last week, white lilies, her favorite, were wilted now, but someone had rearranged them into a neat bundle tied with a black ribbon I didn't recognize. The silk was pristine, fluttering in the breeze like a trapped breath. The groundskeeper found me there. Old Marlowe, his face a map of wrinkles, leaned on his rake like a sentinel. You're here late, he said, though it was barely noon. Someone's been tending this grave, I said. Who? Marlowe's eyes flicked to the ribbon. Ain't seen nobody. Ground's soft this time of year. Could have been an animal. But animals didn't tie ribbons. That night, I returned with a camera, a cheap motion-activated thing I bought at the electronics store. I strapped it to the oak, angling it toward the headstone. If someone came, I'd know. For 3 days, nothing. On the 4th morning, the camera was dead, its battery drained despite being fully charged. The footage showed only static after midnight, no figures, no shuffling feet. Just the lilies, now freshly arranged again, their petals plucked and scattered in a spiral around the stone. I pressed my palm to the earth. It was warm. And then, so faint I thought I'd imagined it, a knock. Not from above. From below. The knocking followed me home. At first, I told myself it was the pipes old buildings groan, after all. But the sounds had rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. Like fingertips testing glass. Then came the whispers. They started in the mirrors. I'd shave and my reflection's lips would keep moving after I'd stopped. Muffled words like someone speaking through water. I smashed the bathroom mirror. The next morning, the shards were gone, replaced by a new one, same frame, same cloudy edges. As if nothing had happened. Then the whispers moved. Under the bed. A rustling like fabric dragging across hardwood. I dropped to the floor, flashlight in hand, nothing but dust and a single black ribbon identical to the one at her grave. Inside the walls. A wet, rhythmic sound. Chewing? No breathing. Ragged, like lungs fighting decay. I pressed my ear to the plaster. The breathing stopped. Then a giggle. The steam message appeared after a cold shower. The mirror fogged over except for 3 words etched in clarity. I'm not gone. I scrambled back, slipping on wet tile. When I looked again, the words remained, but the handwriting had changed. Now it was hers, all looping curves and jagged T's. I'd know it anywhere. I'd read her letters 100 times. My phone buzzed. A direct message from an account that shouldn't exist. Her account. The photo loaded slowly, my apartment, shot from the hallway closet at 3:17 a.m. Moonlight painted the couch where I'd passed out, my arm dangling over the edge. And there, just visible in the closet's cracked door, a pale sliver of a face. One eye. A smile. The caption, you left the door open for me. I vomited. That night, her voice woke me. Not a whisper clear. You promised, it hissed from the ceiling. You promised you'd follow. The air smelled like lilies and wet earth. I checked the closet. Empty. Then my phone lit up. Another message. A video this time. I pressed play. The camera panned across my bedroom now as I slept. A shadow leaned over me, long fingers brushing my cheek. The footage cut off as it turned toward the lens. But not before I saw the ribbon in its hair. Lightning split the sky as I drove to the cemetery, the storm howling like a thing alive. The shovel clattered in my trunk with every turn, a metronome counting down to madness. I didn't care about the rain. I didn't care about the law. I needed to see. The gates were locked. I scaled the iron rails, my boots slipping on wet metal, and landed in a puddle of mud. Her grave stood silhouetted under the flickering moonlight, the headstone's inscription glowing silver with each flash, "Beloved. Taken too soon." A lie. I drove the shovel into the earth. The rain had turned the soil to soup, each scoop heavier than the last. Thunder drowned out the sound of my grunting, my sobbing, the way my bones ached with every thrust into the ground. Halfway down, my phone rang. Her number. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. And again. On the fourth call, I hurled the phone into the darkness. It hit an angel statue with a crack, screen shattering like ice. The ringing stopped. Midnight found me waist deep in the hole, my blistered hands raw and bleeding. The shovel struck wood with a hollow thunk. The coffin. I clawed at the dirt with my fingers, nails tearing until the lid was bare. The wood was pristine, no rot, no worms, as if it had been buried yesterday instead of 6 months ago. The brass plaque gleamed, her name. Her dates. Another lie. I wedged the shovel under the lid and pushed. The wood groaned. A sigh escaped the crack, warm, sweet air, like a breath held too long. Then I saw it. Empty. No, not empty. At the bottom lay a single item, the black ribbon coiled neatly in the center. But as I reached for it, the fabric twitched. A finger. No roots. Thin, white tendrils erupting from the ribbon, squirming like blind worms. They pulsed as the storm raged above, threading through the coffin's seams, disappearing into the earth below. The phone rang again. This time, it came from inside the coffin. I scrambled back, slipping in the mud. The roots lashed toward my ankles. And the lid slammed shut with a sound like a grinning mouth closing. Above me, the oak tree creaked. Something moved among its branches. Laughing. I don't remember running. One moment I was knee-deep in the grave, the roots coiling around my wrists like shackles. The next, I was home, dripping mud and rainwater onto my kitchen floor. My hands shook as I poured whiskey straight from the bottle, the burn doing nothing to erase the image of those squirming white tendrils. Had I imagined it? The storm still raged outside, rattling the windows as if demanding to be let in. Then the phone rang. I'd thrown it, smashed it against the cemetery statue. Yet there it was, vibrating on the countertop, the cracked screen glowing with her name. This time I answered. Silence. Then, breathing. Wet. Labored. The sound of lungs fighting against dirt. You buried me alive. Her voice was a razor dragged over glass. I choked on my own breath. I screamed, she whispered. You heard me. You walked away. The whiskey bottle slipped from my grip, shattering on the tile. No. No, I'd seen the body. The pale, lifeless face behind the funeral home glass. The way her hands had been folded over her chest, waxy and still a. Liar, the voice hissed. You never looked. You couldn't bear to. A thump from the hallway. The bedroom door creaked open on its own. I knew what I'd see before I turned. The ribbon. Dangling from the doorknob, swaying gently as if someone had just tied it there. The phone crackled again. Come back to the grave, she murmured. I'll show you the truth. Then the line went dead. Outside, the storm paused, a held breath. In the sudden quiet, I realized. I didn't remember the funeral. Not really. Just the weight of the shovel in my hands that night. The smell of turned earth. The way the rain had washed the dirt from my skin afterward, as if forgiving me. The phone buzzed. A new photo loaded. Me. Standing over an open grave, my face slack with horror. But the timestamp was from tonight. And in the background, barely visible beneath the piled dirt, a hand. Reaching up. The caption. You always forget. Let me remind you. I stared at my reflection in the blackened screen. For the first time, I wondered. Had there ever been a body at all? Then the knocking started again. Not at the door. Under the floorboards. And this time, I recognized the rhythm. It was the same as my own heartbeat.